Right. Let's see. Actually, I'm out of questions.
Actually, I wanted to say one thing. What I liked about the literature club, because before I didn't know many people that read literature. Like I knew him, and we went like a few times to like bookstore together. But for the most part, I didn't know that many people actually read books in the university.
Right.
And then also mostly when I reviewed like. I read so many books and I get so excited and I want to talk to people about them.
Yeah.
My friends don't read books, so I really didn't have anyone to like talk about the books. And like with the club, it was really exciting. What I used to do is just like write reviews on Goodreads, and then now I can actually have a discussion and I can review the book like orally rather than having to write it. I mean, not that writing is bad, but like.
Yeah,
there isn't not many people discuss it. They'll leave a comment, but that's about it. But then when you actually meet with people, even though they don't know stuff about the book, you can persuade them to read the book.
Yeah, I think otherwise a lot of people would just have just be online with their Tumblrs or Goodreads or whatever.
Yeah.
But like that in-person connection is really cool. Especially when you find someone who's read the same book as you, you see their eyes light up and everything.
Right.
You get to talk about the things that I guess you wouldn't be able to with other people who haven't read it. I think that's amazing.
Right. So I think both of you have been avid readers for like a long time, but Sheros and I are kind of people who got into it as a result of a need to develop ourselves, and we just jumped into the reading book things. Like, how would you say has reading books have helped you develop as a person in terms of productivity or everything?
If you were to compare me from now to then, before I used to read books, you probably wouldn't recognize me at all from back then. That's how much reading books have impacted me. And you know, as I mentioned before, since starting the literature club as well, I have delved into moving on to other genres as well, because these guys make them sound so much fun, and they definitely persuaded and convinced me to try them out as well.
Right. So,
I think pivoting off from that, I think it's probably a thing with our generation, especially to kind of, maybe we might have read a lot while we were young, so we kind of fall out of it, especially as we start to use digital devices more, and our time is occupied, our attention gets occupied by that.
Right.
So for me, I can say that I definitely went through a period of not reading very much, but now especially with the literature club, especially with, I would never read self-help books before, by the way.
Right.
Especially after being around you guys and that rubbing off. Now I actually do feel like I wouldn't have read science books before, but people in the lit club do, and now I've started that. I wouldn't read. I still don't know if I'll end up reading Rupi Kaur, but maybe one day. Right?
Maybe one day.
So that's definitely where my transformation is going, and I think I'm able to better focus on anything now, whether it's books or even my work, you know.
Right.
So I think that's a great thing. I think maybe a lot of people in the lit club have that.
Right. So one of the things we wanted to achieve with the Literature Club was to provide a social incentive to reading, because reading these days has become definitely harder in terms of our attention spans or like our busy lifestyles and just finding a quiet place or like time period for ourselves to read. How do you think has reading become harder these days, like compared to back then for you?
For me, you get distracted with all these things you have to do. So like, I would say like I read less, but then not necessarily like I would buy a book and I'd open the book and I'd start reading it. But for me personally, I'm not getting distracted by other things, by reading other things.
Right.
So, like, I would start a book and then I see some other interesting book and then I'd start reading that, and then next thing you know, I'm reading like 3 books and I'm just like, oh my god, how am I going to finish this? Like, let me take a break, finish the first one, then go through. And that's basically me, but I don't know, but also, like, I end up reading a lot of stuff in the internet. I understand, but for me personally, reading has been like an outlet, or just like sometimes when I'm just like feeling really overwhelmed by what's happening like around me, I would pick up a fiction book and I'd start reading it, because like it's not a reality, but like it helps me like
find escapism.
Yes, find an escape for the time being until like I'm feeling better about whatever it is that's like overwhelming me, until I can actually deal with what my problem is. But it does help, you know, take your mind off things that make you stressed or like stressful things in life. It does help a lot. So for me, I do get those reading slumps every now and then, but then the thing is, I don't force myself to read, because like when you make a reading something that you have to do like a chore, you'll never get to enjoy it. I believe that like you should just, you know, give it a try, but don't force yourself. Maybe if you tried first time you read a book, maybe it's not the kind of book that you would be interested in, and then if you just write off reading without like, just because you force yourself to keep reading that book that you're not enjoying. So sometimes I believe, like, I buy books and I start reading it and then I don't enjoy it, and I go like, I spent money on it, I should finish it. But then I realize I'm like, I could be reading something I'm really enjoying. I'm just forcing myself right now. So I think it's, you know, like, reading is something you don't have to force, and like obviously there are many distractions and stuff. It's okay to be distracted, but like just don't forget about reading.
Right.
I mean, like, and don't force it. Once you force it, it becomes a chore and you don't enjoy it.
Right. Which is pretty interesting, because self-help in general, the genre has been like plagued with a lot of bad books, and it has given the self-help genre itself a pretty bad rep. In the literature club, we decided if somebody picks up a book, by the way, for the viewers' information, we have like a reading log where people record every day how many pages they've read, and till they finished.
I haven't logged in a while.
It's fine, even I haven't.
Because I've been reading online stuff for a while.
But we gave the provision in our club to, like, if you think a book is bad, drop it. How do you think that is very important, like Jawahir has said, like enjoying reading because the book is good instead of forcing yourself to read? How do you think that comes handy, like that principle comes in handy when it comes to self-help?
Well, it gives people more freedom to do what they want to. We don't want to force anyone that once they say like, oh, I'm going to read this book. It's not like we try to enforce this on them, like, hey, you better read this book by the end of this time or blah, blah, blah. You're not allowed to drop this out, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not the case at all. It's totally up to the readers themselves to decide whether they would like to continue to read this or not. And yeah, that's what you did as well, actually. You were reading a book, but then you dropped it along the way, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some books, like, I guess maybe some books are not right for you, or some books you are not in the right time for that book.
Yes.
That is pretty important. What would be, Andrew, give me some of your experiences, like a book that wasn't right for you at a particular time period, and then later it came in really useful for you or something.
Yeah, I haven't really had that experience. I guess I've done a weird thing where sometimes if I feel not into a book, I flip out to halfway and see how things get exciting from there, and that sort of, and then I read a few pages and maybe go back. Some books I've actually ended up reading the whole way from that halfway point, which is like not a good thing, but I think it's sometimes, well, you don't want to force yourself, but you do want to keep in mind that not just books, but movies and TV shows, a lot of these things can be kind of slow to start, or they build up. But once you hit that peak, it's a really rewarding experience from there. So you have to keep that in mind as well.
Right.
I agree with you, because I was reading a book, it's called 1Q84. 84. So when I first started it, it was pretty slow. The book was really slow. And then I was just like, should I complete it? Because it was like 1,400 or 300 something pages.
Books in one,
yeah, it's 3 books in one. So I'm just like, do I really want to finish this? But then it piqued my interest. However, like, I felt like it was moving too slow the pace was like really slow. What I did was like, I just put the book aside, and I was just like, every now and then when I feel like reading, I'll just pick it up. I'm not going to force myself to read it. And after that, once I reached the middle, the book got like really exciting, and I'm just like, I'm glad I did not drop this book, because it is amazing. And like, I don't think anything can describe, like, I don't think words can describe how good the book is. Like right now, I finished the second part of the book and I'm at the third part, and it's really interesting and I keep reading. However, I still stop because like when I feel like I'm forcing myself, I'm like, I'm not enjoying this story, so I should just put it. Sometimes I don't pick up the book for like 2 weeks and then I feel that urge to read it, then I read. Exactly, like I said, like you don't force yourself. Sometimes there are books that like you're forcing yourself just because you don't like it, but you're forcing yourself, then I don't think you should just drop that book. But if it piques your interest, don't force yourself to read it right now, right then and there. You can always like leave it whenever you feel like it, just pick it up. And then it might be rewarding. That's what I feel.
Right.
And most people tend to like force themselves, which I think is dumb.
So we have a viewer, 871X. Hi there. And they asked the question, what book are you talking about, Jawahar? Restate the name, book of the book's name.
It's 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami.
Yeah, at 1Q84. I'll just type it out. So Andrew, you were about to say something.
Yeah, you mentioned like sort of not being in the right time to read a certain book, and I think that's something the literature club actually really helps with. I finished reading Notes from the Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky a few days ago, and I wouldn't have picked that up if there wasn't a guy who came in a few weeks ago and started talking about Russian literature. Now, at first, I was like, "Whoa, this guy's like super pretentious or something." But he did make it seem really interesting, and I don't, by the way, my opinion of him has changed. But ever since picking up that book, now, I'm really glad. Like I met him through the literature club and got that perspective, which I might not have been able to do otherwise.
Right.
An interesting point is that this book was written in the 19th century or so.
Yeah.
Right. So, Salim, did you have any kind of similar experiences? Like a book wasn't right for you at a given time, then later it got better?
Not really.
Right.
Because like my problem is if I start something, I want to finish it. I just want to give it all I have.
Right.
Then I'm done. Even if it is not good, I will just be like, I need to just finish this book, that's it.
Right.
Even, let's say if I'm watching a series movie, if it is already done, I can watch the full series in one day. I will not wait for the next week.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes chances are, sure, a book might be moving very bad, or like I might have missed some gems on the book that I've dropped, because a lot of people really sincerely recommended it to me. But I mean that's on the author, I guess, of making the book flow well.
The thing is, you did give the book more opportunities to get better, right? But
Right.
you felt that its pacing was just didn't get you.
Yeah.
I agree with him
Definitely.
because when I was reading the 1Q84, I thought it was slow, and I was like, it piqued my interest, but I was like, it's a bit boring because of how the pace was going. But actually, I realized that it was building this world, because since it's a fiction book, it was building this world. But if it went like any faster, you wouldn't get that vision once you get to the second part of the book.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, now it makes sense why it was going really slow. I mean, it painted a picture that like if it went any faster, it wouldn't have been there. It would have been something entirely different.
Yeah, for the viewers, by the way, so it is actually not really based, but to some degree at least kind of inspired or has certain themes from 1984,
Right.
which is a lot of people's first political books. And so, for example, one of the things in 1984 is kind of the way that things can suddenly change, and like everyone will pretend it's normal. Of course, that was tied into like the political system and like totalitarianism, Big Brother is watching you, and so on. But in the book 1Q84, the author sort of takes an existential angle on that and wonders like, how would you feel, or how would it really feel to be in that world and suddenly have everything change and have everyone else act normal with it, and you being the only one who has this like different experience with reality.
Yeah.
Right. So in the literature club, we also consider movies to be technically literature, because obviously movies are stories. They also have dialogues. All of it is basically based on writing. But anime, everything. But we at the literature club, we all have a very polarizing stance when it comes to book adaptations.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts on book adaptations, Jawahir?
Okay, personally, there are like, it's 1 in a million where like a book actually turns out to be as good as the movie turns out to be as good as the book for the most part, because it's a movie and it has a limited time. It does not cover everything,
right.
And there are some things that don't translate, because like when you're reading a book, you're envisioning the world that is in the book, how you see it. So it gives it the perfect like picture what it would look like. For example, if I read a book and Andrew read a book, and the way he pictured the world of that book and the way I pictured it tend to be different. Because he has his own thoughts, his own opinions and perspective, and that comes in when you're reading a book and you're creating the world how you see it. But in the movie, it's
forced upon you.
No, it's not that it's forced upon you, it's another person's vision of how he thinks the book. And then more times than not, you're just like, I think my version is far better. And then when you're just like, you feel like, even though sometimes it is really good, you still feel that like something is missing because it's still not what you pictured. And sometimes it's very rare then when like maybe their thoughts and your thoughts, or your perspective and their perspective, are kind of similar, and then you feel like, oh, this is great, it's actually good, as good as the book. So I don't think that it's bad, it's just like some things don't translate, and then your perspective, and then the time. So I think it's just that.
And another question from 871X. Are you guys part of a book community / literature club? Yes, we are from Murdoch University, and we are basically the founding members of the Murdoch Literature Club. I mean, yes.
Also known as Nerdog, right?
Yeah, now we are calling it the Murdoch community. Now, coming back into book adaptations.
Yeah, we actually discussed this once, and I think we mentioned that the only movie adaptation that's been better than the book is maybe The Shining.
Right.
But I think the thing I prefer to see is people take inspiration from books rather than directly adapt them. I think you're fighting a losing battle when you're actually trying to adapt a book. One example of this could be The Matrix was inspired by a Grant Morrison comic book. The name of it escapes me now, but they took a lot of themes from that, which is the world not being what you think it is, being alienated from society, wanting to rebel, all of that, and they obviously put that in The Matrix. I think it's worked out for the better. The Matrix is like probably one of the most well-known, like it's definitely a part of our culture. So many things from red pill, blue pill, rabbit, all these metaphors are literally a part of our meme culture right now.
Right.
Another thing also could be the kind of horror fiction that H.P. Lovecraft writes, which it's definitely super. It's literally, you can't translate. I mean, you actually can't translate it into a movie. When he talks about things like impossible geometry or buildings that make you go crazy because of how nonsensical or how unreal they look, there's no way to put that in a movie. You can't.
Right.
But there have been a lot of Lovecraft-inspired movies. One just came out recently, Annihilation. A lot of Guillermo del Toro movies are inspired by Lovecraft, if I recall, and I think that's definitely a cool one to take.
Right. So
or even things where you maybe change the setting of a book, or Apocalypse Now, for example, and a certain game called Spec Ops: The Line are both inspired from a book called Heart of Darkness, and that book is set in like I think the 19th or 18th century or something. But each of these books like transpose it into the Vietnam War and the Middle East respectively. So it's really cool when authors play with stuff and put their own vision with that instead of trying to directly adapt something.
Right. So, how many of you guys watched Interstellar? Like, no? Wait, don't tell me none of you guys watched Interstellar.
No, I think we all. Okay,
I watched it when it came out, and although I was kind of distracted when I was watching the movie, so I didn't get to experience the movie fully. So that I feel like I want to rewatch it to experience it properly. And I feel like I missed a lot of what was happening because I was kind of construct.
Not really a book. I mean, there is a book that was born out of the movie called The Science Behind Interstellar, written by Thornkip. I specifically brought up Interstellar because it's interesting how you mentioned that certain concepts in the books that cannot be translated visually. What was your take on like the idea of a tesseract, like a four-dimensional world translated into a three-dimensional being for us humans? In Interstellar. But spoiler alert, I spoiled it for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go.
You were saying something.
So yeah.
I think there are a lot of other worse faults you can pick with that movie.
Right.
The whole
Don't.
Right.
Don't.
What I will say is that I only realized. I guess I can't spoil it. But
Yeah, you can.
I only really understood a certain scene after I read a book on string theory.
Right.
And quantum mechanics.
Right.
Actually it's kind of general knowledge, I guess, but once I read that book and got it, then I was like, oh, suddenly the scene makes sense. Again, not spoiling anything, but it's, I guess, towards the end and involves the Tesseract.
Right. So we have another question. If any of you watched Inception, and what is your opinion?
Yes.
No spoilers. I mean, okay, I think no spoilers was a laughing comment at my too late warning. But how many of you guys watch Inception?
I did.
Okay, so what are your thoughts?
Actually, when I watched Inception, as I was reading it, it reminded me of a poem and of an animation that I watched previously.
Right.
So the poem was by Edgar Allan Poe, which was A Dream Within a Dream.
Right.
And then I was like, as I read it, I was like, okay, this is like kind of like related. And also I think the animation was called, I don't remember the name.
Paprika?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it really reminded me of it, and like as I was like watching the movie, I kept thinking of that, and it showed like the different perceptions from and different what do you call the
Cultures? Or
yes, not exactly culture, but more like I can't think of the word right now. Anyways, but like. It made me think a lot as I was watching the movie.
Right.
But honestly, I thought it was great. I thought it, and I don't think everyone understands that because, like, I watched it with a few friends and then we'd discuss it, and I don't think they understood the point of the movie or anything, and I don't think, like, what.
Did you guys argue over whether the top spins or not?
Yeah, we did argue about it, and then some of them just like, did not get the point. And some people didn't even understand the movie. Maybe because like for me, I read the poem and I read the other animation, and like maybe that played a part in me understanding what the concept of the movie was. But like some other people missed it, some didn't understand it. Sometimes like having a general knowledge or like certain knowledge of something and like watching it or reading it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because like I've read a book that was what was that? It was talking, it had Sumerian mythology. It was referring. I didn't understand the concept of the book in the beginning, but then like I went and I started searching in Sumerian mythology, and then finally like it painted a bigger and much better picture, and I'm just like, oh, so that was what they meant by this, and I'm just like things started falling in place, which was like really great.
So basically, Inception was like an integration of all these sources into one movie. That you would have to find all these sources separately in order to understand.
Not necessarily.
You don't have to do this. See, you don't have to overthink it, but like if you feel like you don't understand something, you can always go and research it, or like read about it, or watch a video, whatever it is you prefer. And then it could give you a different perspective, or you could understand something more. But like if you feel like you understand it just fine, you don't have to force yourself to go keep researching through all these things. Sometimes doing that ruins things for you as well.
Yeah, I don't think you have to view it as like like an achievement list in a game or something you have to get 100% of.
Yeah, no.
I think with movies and books especially, I think each person's understanding is equally valid. There's a director called David Chase, I think, who Well, literally, some of his movies, the meaning is so obvious, but when people tell him, "Isn't that what the movie means?" he'll just say, "No, that's not what it means," because he literally wants everyone to give their own interpretation, and he doesn't think there's any single one right meaning for it.
Right.
There are movies also like with open ending, like you interpret the ending, and like I watched one movie that was, I can't remember the name, but it was really great, and I watched it together with my mom, and then like what I thought was the ending was entirely different from what she thought, and then we kept arguing about it, and then we just decided like let's agree to disagree, because honestly it's an open ending. It's supposed to be what you think it is. It's not necessarily like even whoever made the movie made it so that you can make your own ending.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Right.
But talking about like different perspectives, I think also being exposed to different cultures or the way different people from different cultures write. So in 1Q84 and even in the Russian book, there are people just seem to talk and even think in these really weird ways. You go like, who would say something like that, right? Or who would think this way? But you realize like it's just a part of their culture, or it's just the way different people do things. And I would never be able to see that otherwise. And it's really cool that way. All these different idiosyncrasies and whatever are really cool, I think.
Right. Interpretation, and that's something I just wanted to talk about, because Christopher Nolan in general has a way of ending his movies in an open-ended way, and like leaving last bit of the movie to like interpretation of the viewer, because I think in terms of business or marketing or something like that, it is a very effective strategy, because what it does is like it creates communities, and it creates these spark of ideas in which people started theorizing and everything, right? But when we watched Dunkirk, Sheroz, what were your thoughts? Because that was a movie that was based on historical events, and there's no interpretation here. These are things that actually happened. There's no spoiler here because we know what happened. But he did indeed play with the idea of time, and he split the movie in different parts. Like, what was your take on that?
Honestly, it's been a while since we watched Dunkirk, so memories really vague in my head at the moment.
But what do you remember, like in terms of feeling?
In terms of feeling, well, I remember there was a war going on. They split the whole movie from the perspective of three different types of army people, I guess.
Like one was the pilot, the soldiers in the mole.
Soldiers, yes.
And then the civilians who were about to rescue these soldiers.
Oh, from the boat, right?
Yeah, from the boat.
Across the sea, right. So it was quite interesting how they depicted these three perspectives in the movie. It told you the story of like what people would feel in these moments from these different perspectives. I mean, the pilot, for instance, well, there are two of them, right? In the air, right?
Yeah.
So it would tell you how they would look out for each other, how they would be determined to win the war no matter what, make it out in the end. And on the other hand, the boats, that would tell you about how they were very determined about saving all the stranded soldiers on the sea, as well as the spoilers. Can I say spoilers?
Yeah.
Don't.
Actually, you know what? Don't.
Yeah. I cannot really express it without saying spoilers.
But like this
overall, though, in the end, it is one of those movies that leaves it open to interpretations. And in my opinion, in the end, they were all. How did it end again?
Do not tell me. You're gonna spoil
historically speaking, the actual event, the civilians did end up saving all the soldiers. Like there was no military navy ship or anything.
Historically speaking, is this your way of getting around the spoilers?
It is a way of getting around the spoilers, because that's what's interesting. Because when people say it's a Christopher Nolan movie, the things we get normally excited for are the plot twists and like the way how he, like basically how he structures the plot. Those are two of the main things which people get excited for. But when he announced like Dunkirk is going to be his next project, and it's something based on historical events, I was like, how is he going to put a twist on this? Like you can't, like this is something that happened, right? So where's the spoiler here? We can just literally read. If anybody well versed with World War II history, they already spoiled the movie for
Not even
themselves.
well worse. This is something we even learned in high school.
Exactly, and so yeah, like I was wondering, but yeah, I think when it came to like storytelling and like how you structure and how you manipulate time, that's something that's it's pretty impactful. So I guess Salim has been holding the phone for a long time. Are your arms aching? Are you cool?
You're also holding a phone.
No, that's fine, I guess. So I have we have a question. I have a question. Have any of you heard MBTI personality tests? What are your
That is a meme, basically.
Okay.
Okay. I think the big five seems to be is more accurate, but basically I've taken that like 4 times and I've gotten like different results every time. I think in general personalities they're not static, they change a lot, and a lot of the questions on these kinds of tests will be really binary. And the thing is, you behave differently when you're by yourself, when you're with other people.
Right.
You might be more organized when you're by yourself, or you might be less organized when you're working on your own. But when you're working with other people, you feel that pressure and you feel like, oh, okay, everyone's working, I need to get on top of my stuff, right?
Right.
So it's really like kind of simplistic, in my opinion, to like reduce everything to these binaries that you have to,
Right.
you know.
Anybody who's taken the test and got a type?
Not the same one. I've taken the 16 personalities one.
Oh, it's the same one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did take that, and I
Can I guess?
what?
ENFP? INFP or ENFP?
No,
INFJ.
no, INTP.
Oh, that's mine and Priyash's too.
Like
Yeah.
I think so many people know the club actually.
I have no idea what that just meant.
It's just
I
like
just- it's just a bunch of letters.
minus A/minus T.
Okay, I don't remember the minus A minus B part.
It's basically logician
Yeah.
personality, and I actually took the test a few times just to make sure, and it came out the same every time. And then I actually made my friend do it. My cousin made me do it, and then we were kind of similar. However, like he was a different. I don't remember where the difference was, but like my friend, this friend of mine, like we sometimes deal with the same issues and stuff, and we tend to meet up and talk about it. And then I was like, "How about you take this?" And I was just like really curious to know, and it turned out that we're actually the same. And I was like, that is really interesting because like even though we talk about these things and we deal with the same issues and like the way we deal with it and stuff, but like his personality is entirely different from. He's really lazy. He doesn't like to leave the house. He's like he's just about staying at home, being comfortable, and he doesn't like to be out of his comfort zone. And I'm the exact opposite of that. And then he took the test a few times as well, and it turned out it's the same. It didn't change. So I mean, they were interesting, like reading into it, and I don't think it just sticks to that. Also, I mean, I think like as you grow and your perspective changes about things and like how you react to a certain things, I'm sure like it changes and it doesn't say. But I mean, it gives you like a basic idea on how you like your brain, like how you think in general.
Right.
Yeah.
For the time that you took the test, I mean, I just think that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like 100% accurate.
Have you taken the test?
Nope.
Have you taken the test, Salim?
No.
Okay, I guess we 3 have to go home and take the
Yeah.
test. Just
Get
to-
on that, yo.
Yeah, you have to. I'm interested to know. I'll send you the link.
INTP.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know what these words mean.
I doubt
I've
you'd
got
be
an
surprised.
INFP, I've got an INFJ, I've got an INTP, and now I'm apparently ENTP. I have no idea how.
Maybe it's just that you have like I don't know something like I don't know you constantly change or something and
Yeah, it seems like
That's the Licklow effect. Okay,
no, but
but
like honestly though, like how? Because usually so and so answer should correlate with something, and that correlation is taken into account with which type you're categorized into.
Yes.
Maybe have you answered the same questions differently every time you did it?
I might have.
Probably.
But honestly, every time I always like try to be honest. I'm not gonna like meme some answer out or something, you know. So,
Right.
I get what you meant because like one time I was like answering the question and I think I answered it like I didn't understand the question properly, and I ended up answering it incorrectly. And then I was just like, oh, then the results are going to be different. But then I went back and I answered, like, I reread the question and tried to understand it better, and then my answer was actually different from the first one.
Right.
Not just to one question, actually like 2 or 3 questions I kind of missed. And then I answered them and my answer was different, but however, like the personality type just came out to be the same.
I think, yeah, sure, go ahead.
It sounds like it depends on what kind of mood you're feeling in the moment.
Even your environment.
I think a very big influencer in these tests is like whether you already know about these tests, right? And you know what each and every result means, and often subconsciously you answer the questions you think that would lead you to put yourself in that category. Say I want to be INTJ because I thought INTJ is cool or something like that. Not necessarily that would be the reason, it could be multiple reasons, or like maybe this person I know very close to me is that type. I hope we both are the same types. Right.
Sometimes I think that does happen, not in just that, like, even when you're doing like a silly test about like which Harry Potter house do I belong to,
or like which Disney princess.
Yeah, some people tend to ask like, I want to be Gryffindor.
Ravenclaw.
Yeah, I want to be this or I want to be that, and then they just like answer questions, and then it turns out to be something. Sometimes it turns out to be something else. Like for me, I took the Harry Potter test, the one from Pottermore.
Which one did you get?
I got Slytherin, and I was just like, I was actually shocked because like I was being honest though in the test, but like in my head I thought I was gonna be a Gryffindor, but then no, I was a Slytherin. I was like, I'm so surprised. I was like, doesn't seem like I would be like that, but it turns out that I am.
So we have a comment saying, maybe if you guys try Enneagram, I hope I spelled it right. It explains further on archetypes. Enneagram? Any idea? Where is that?
This actually does it tells you about everything, like in like work, this, that, like how. I still have it open because like sometimes I'd go back and read and I'm just like, does this really relate to me? And then actually it does. And I'm just like, interesting.
Right. So I think we've reached like 40 something minutes, 50 minutes of footage.
Whoa.
So yeah, that's the thing about these podcasts. Once you start, you never know where the hell the time is going. So I think we'll wrap it up.
So I want to ask, how many times do you guys meet in the uni?
We usually meet twice a week. Usually the Monday meetings are more crowded than the Thursday meetings because Thursday is weekend and a lot of people are busy with other things. And Monday is like middle of like everybody has classes around the same day. So Monday is a busy day.
How many hours?
Usually it's 1 hour. Our meeting is officially 1 hour, but often we finish the meeting, then we go to the food court, we continue our banter or any kind of discussion.
It turns out almost 3 hours, it ends up being like 3 hours.
Yeah, but official meetings are just 1 hour.
Yeah. Meetings are for an hour.
Yeah.
And how many people in the group now?
Right now we have this Discord, a gaming community server chat client, and in that client is where it's our official mode of communication. And right now we count about 20 members, including us all. So yeah, it's a decent number. In the future, we hope it grows and we could allow more alumni and everybody to come in. So the community just keeps growing. Yeah. So. Yeah, so we would like to wrap up. I'm extremely thankful you guys came today, and like, yeah, it's really honor feels cheesy right now, but it is a privilege, for me to like create this club because it really single-handedly managed to turn my university social life upside down. Yeah, definitely, and a lot of people found people of similar interests.
Actually, the same. Usually, I would just like go to my classes, leave after classes, don't interact with any people.
Yeah. So so where are you guys from, and what do you study? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, we're all from Murdoch University.
What do you study?
Well, we all study the same major, right? But I study business. I study business information systems, which is basically IT.
Yeah, so you study computer science.
I'm American.
No, you're not. You're not.
You wish.
In my heart. In my heart. Okay, I identify. I believe I'm an American.
No,
okay,
you're not.
I study computer science and business information systems.
Right. Salim, introduce yourself.
I am Salim. I am a PhD student. I'm doing research on big data.
Yeah.
It's like a PhD in computer science.
Right.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh.
I actually really like big data. It's like my favorite
Yeah.
topic in IT. And I actually was doing double majors, same as him, computer science and business information systems. However, I dropped computer science because I found that I was more interested in the systems themselves rather than the coding. And yeah, and do I have to say where I'm from, the country?
If you want, yeah, sure.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm from Morocco.
Yeah. So okay, nobody from the live stream got this, but I'm just gonna. Oh shit, my face is so close. Like literally my nose. Yeah, I'm Parvez. I'm from India. I study marketing, business. So no.
Oh.
I study marketing,
That's
and yeah, that's what I do. But I'm into a lot of other things. So yeah, so we would like to wrap up this podcast. Thank you guys for coming. Hope we do this more often, and thank you guys for watching and tuning into the live broadcast.
Thank
So
you for the questions.
yeah, so
for
thank you
sure.
for the questions.
Yeah.
Say bye.
Adios.
Adios. Bye. End it. Perfect. Oh, okay. It didn't end yet. Never
Whoa.
mind. It happened.